Imagine raising two beautiful kids, working hard to build a future for your family, only to find out your wife's been sneaking off in the middle of the day, dropping your kids off 90 minutes away just to shack up with an old high school boyfriend in a seedy motel. Well, that was my life. And when I found out, oh, I didn't just confront her. I obliterated them both. This is how I destroyed her affair partner's entire life, piece by piece. If you've ever dreamed of delivering a little poetic justice to someone who crossed the line, hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up, because this story might just be the most satisfying revenge you'll hear today. Way back in the early 2000s, life felt normal, or at least I thought it was. I was married to my college sweetheart. We had two little kids, ages 4 and 6. The kind of age where every scraped knee is a tragedy, and every bedtime story is a big event. I worked full-time, and my wife worked part-time. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. But sometimes, it's the little things that whisper when something's wrong. It started with my kids. Innocent little voices mentioning how much fun they had at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Now her parents lived about 90 minutes away. Visiting them wasn't weird, but what was strange was how often it was happening. 2, sometimes 3 times a week. On days she wasn't working. I remember sitting at the dinner table one night, my son casually saying, "Mommy took us to Grandma's again today," and my gut clenched. I brushed it off. Maybe she just needed a break. Parenting's hard. But something in my bones, in that instinct you can't quite explain, told me something was wrong. When I finally asked her about it, she was dismissive, waved it off. Oh, you know how kids make things up. But she wasn't a good liar. She never was. Her eyes darted away, her voice a little too light, a little too casual. I didn't say anything then, but I started watching. That's when the numbers started adding up. I started jotting down the mileage on her car each morning before I left for work. Nothing invasive, no accusations, just observation. By the end of the first week, she'd driven an extra 400 miles. There's no way a few trips to her parents' house would clock that much. And I knew, without a doubt, something was going on. Then one afternoon, fate practically gift-wrapped it for me. I sat down at our home computer, and there it was. A yellow sticky note, carelessly left next to the keyboard. Her AOL password. And in that moment, my heart was pounding so hard I swear I could hear it in my ears. My hands were shaking. I hesitated for maybe half a second, then logged in. Her inbox was a disaster. But in between the chain emails and store coupons were conversations with her college best friend. And they weren't just chatting about recipes. They were talking about him, an old high school boyfriend. They joked about how they were meeting up, how my wife was getting it on while his wife, and I quote, blew up like a balloon after popping out 3 kids. I could taste bile in my throat. The room felt hot. My hands felt numb. I printed everything, every last word. But I wasn't done. A close friend of mine was a cop back then. I told him everything, and he didn't hesitate. He gave me the number of a former detective turned private investigator, a guy named Ron. Best money I ever spent. I handed Ron the emails, told him what little I knew, and let him do what he did best. And man, did Ron deliver. It took him less than a week. The photos, the timestamps, the motel receipts, every dirty, disgusting detail. Turns out my wife would drive the kids to her parents' place, meet this guy, let's call him Bob, for lunch, and then head to a cheap, grimy motel for a couple of hours before picking the kids back up and heading home like nothing happened. I was furious, but more than that, I was resolved. See, my parents cheated on each other when I was a kid. The fights, the custody battles, the trauma. It wrecked me and my siblings, and I swore I would never let my kids go through that kind of chaos. So I did two things. First, hired a top-notch divorce lawyer. Second, had Ron dig into Bob's life. And boy, did it get interesting. Bob wasn't some random nobody. He was married, 3 kids, worked as vice president of sales for his father-in-law's company. And his wife? Well, she seemed like a decent person, deserved to know what her husband was up to. So here's where it gets delicious. On the very same day, my wife was served with divorce papers at her work. Ron paid a little visit to Bob's wife, handed her the full dossier, the photos, the emails, the motel bookings, everything. Ron said she barely spoke, just flipped through the evidence, her face turning paler by the second. But she thanked him. And from there, chaos. See, Bob's wife wasn't one to sit quietly. According to public court records and some juicy local gossip, she cleaned out their joint bank account the same day, took the kids, packed up, and left. When her dad found out what Bob had done, fired him on the spot, and since her family owned the house they were living in, evicted, but it didn't stop there. Apparently, Bob went back to the house to confront his now ex-wife. Things escalated. Her brother stepped in and broke Bob's nose. There were restraining orders, police reports, criminal charges, even a stint in jail. And today, I can't find a trace of Bob online. Last anyone heard, he skipped town and disappeared. As for me, I kept my cool, handled the divorce cleanly, never fought in front of the kids, made it clear my ex and I would only communicate about them and nothing else. Now that they're adults, I don't talk to her at all. Not out of hatred, just indifference. She's the mother of my children, that's it, nothing more. And honestly, I sleep just fine at night. There's something uniquely satisfying about watching someone who thought they were untouchable get everything ripped away. Not by shouting, not by violence, but by their own terrible choices. I didn't have to destroy Bob. He did it to himself. I just helped speed up the process. And watching it all unfold, it was like a pressure valve released in my chest. Years of suppressed anger, pain, betrayal, gone. Poetic justice served ice cold. If there's a lesson here, it's that actions have consequences. And sometimes, karma just needs a little nudge. Never underestimate the quiet ones. We're the ones who don't scream. We don't throw fits. We make calls. We collect receipts. And when the time's right, we burn it all down. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and drop a comment about the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed. I'd love to read them. And if you're into stories where justice gets served in the most unexpected ways, hit that subscribe button, because I've got plenty more where this came from.